Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my talk show, Touching Hearts, Transforming Lives. And this is Gregory. Thank you so much for tuning in and really appreciate the honor and the privilege of serving you. Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever felt stuck in life? In this journey of life, in whatever role that you are playing, have you ever felt that I want to do certain things, I long to do certain things, I want to change the circumstances and situations of the role that I'm playing in this journey of my life, but somehow something holds me back. Somewhere I feel stuck in moving ahead. Hold on to the thought, we'll come back to it in a few moments. Today, I want to talk about the garden of your life. We would have visited various gardens in our lives, and one of the things that attracts us about gardens is the greenery and the various types of flowers and the fragrance that it gives, doesn't it? And we like to sit and just admire and look at the flowers. Similarly, in our lives, we need to we need to beautify the garden of our life. And today I want to talk to you about that. How does the garden of your life look today? Or rather, how beautiful is the garden of your life today? Are you cultivating the garden of your life? So, what do I mean by that? What are the three important ingredients that are required to beautify the garden of your life? The first thing is, right, the soil. The soil represents your mindset. The soil represents your belief system. It represents your identity. It represents what you believe about yourself. And various, in your mindset, in your belief system, in your identity, are you building constructive thoughts about yourself, or are you building destructive thoughts about yourselves? Sometimes we are stuck in life, because there is that small voice that keeps repeating in our brains, in our minds. You're nothing, you're good for nothing, you've not done it. Look at your life today, you're a failure, you've hardly done anything in life, nothing will happen, whatever you do will fail. And these voices, they keep playing in our minds, and they are destructive thoughts. So, how is the soil of the garden of your life? How is your thought pattern? What is your belief system? If I were to ask you to write down three things of what stopped you, what are those inner voices that have stopped you from doing the things that you believe are right in the journey of your life or in whatever role that you're playing? If there were three things that you were to identify in your life of what has stopped you, the inner voice that has stopped you from doing things that you believe you should have done, what would be those three things? So the first thing is the soil. The first thing is about your mindset, your belief system, your how do you process thoughts in your life, your identity. They become the soil of the garden of your life. The second thing is, what are the seeds that you're sowing in this garden? A gardener has to sow various types of flower seeds: roses, sunflower, orchids, lilies, and various flowers represent different various characteristics. Similarly, in the garden of your life, what are the value seeds that you are sowing in this garden? We have various values in which we build our lives, isn't it? Values of honor, values of respect, values of appreciation, values of intimacy in a committed relationship, values of communication, values of forgiveness. There are so many values. Think of some of the values, think of some of those seed values that you are making an effort to sow in your mind, in this soil called your mind, your belief system. Think of a few value systems. What are those value seeds that you are planting in this garden of your life? Because those value seeds will become those flowers that will represent the character of your mindset and the fragrance of your life. So the second thing is the value seeds. Are you making any effort to very consciously plant those value seeds in the garden of your life? What are those seeds that you are planting? What are those value seeds? Can you identify those value seeds and write it down? Because you see, you've got to understand one thing. There are also weeds that grow in the garden, and the farmer is very careful about the weeds that grow, because these are weeds that can destroy the beauty of the garden. So he's very conscious of uprooting or plucking off those weeds. Sometimes we allow certain weeds to grow in this garden of life. What are some of those weeds? Weeds of, they are destructive. Weeds destroy the garden. And sometimes unconsciously, because of our thinking, because of our identity, because of our belief system, we allow those weeds to grow in a garden. Weeds of suspicion, weeds of unfaithfulness, weeds of miscommunication or lack of communication. It could be weeds of casualness in a relationship, weeds of laziness, weeds of disrespect, dishonoring. There are so many weeds that destroy the garden. Are you paying attention to those weeds that are slowly finding its way in the garden of your life? If you don't destroy those weeds, if you don't uproot those weeds, they will destroy your beautiful garden. Are you making an effort to uproot those weeds? Have you been able to identify those weeds? Learn to identify. If I were to ask you, mention at least 3 weeds that you are aware of that is growing in this garden of your life. What would those 3 weeds be? And what are you going to do practically to uproot those weeds from your garden? So the second thing is seed value. What is the seed that you are sowing in this garden of your life? The third thing is cultivating your garden. The gardener has to cultivate his garden. He knows that just the soil and just the seed is not enough. So he has to cultivate. He has to make sure there is water, sunlight. He has to make sure that wild animals don't come and destroy the soil and the seed. So he has to protect the seed from wild animals or from animals that could loiter into the garden. You need to cultivate the garden of your life. What are you doing to cultivate the garden of your life? If I were to ask you 5 things that you are going to do from today onwards to cultivate the garden of your life, to cultivate the soil, to protect the soil and to protect the seed, to becoming a beautiful garden, what would those things be? Mention those 3 things and think about those 3 things and work on those 3 things. Cultivate the garden of your life. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure that it is you who are responsible to cultivate the garden of your life. Don't look at somebody else's garden. Don't look at your spouse's garden. Don't look at your employer's garden. Look at your garden and think of ways how can you cultivate the garden of your life. Pay attention to your thought process, which is your soil. Pay attention to your belief system. Pay attention to what kind of identity you're giving yourself. That's number 1. Number 2 is make sure you're planting value seeds in your garden. And number 3 is make sure you're cultivating your garden by taking the effort to do certain things to change your life. And your garden will look beautiful. Thank you for taking the time to listening to me. I trust it will have been of some benefit to you. I will see you next week once again on sharing my thoughts with you. Till then, be safe and take care of yourself. Love you all, guys. Thank you.